We got all of our LARP stuff going on here. We got our little tutorial. This is just some stuff that I found. I'm not making any of this. Alright, so you guys need to make a basic weapon. Basic weapon, no crossguard. This is very simple. I'm going to show you basically how to make, with my method, one of these, a basic sword. It's got a nice pommel, it's got a nice blade, padded with 2 layers. Alright, basic little tape design on here. I'm going to show you how to do everything. Alright, this is going to be a dagger. It's going to be a little bit smaller, so it's not going to be exactly this size. But this is just for you guys to, you know what's going on. This is just for decoration. It's kind of cool. Alright, so you got your PVC pipe right here. Alright, now a dagger is generally pretty small, but you still want those 6 or 8 inches on the handle. So considering this is kind of long, I may cut off a couple inches. I'm going to see how long it is. All my guidelines for the basic measurements and dimensions for all my weapons are actually on my website. So this is 25 inches long, 8 inches for a handle, so 25 minus 8, that would be 13. So 13 inches for a blade. It's a little bit long. I think I'm going to cut it a couple inches because that is still kind of long. So we'll cut it down, I want to say like 4 inches because we have a padded tip, right? So I'm going to cut it to 20 inches total. So I'm going to make, I never made my mark. Alright, I got pipe cutters. So now we got this, right? What you want to do is you want to tape both ends of your pipe. The reason why we do this is because when we do pad our tips, we actually have to stuff it with some extra insulation. And you don't want that insulation going through the pipe entirely. Put the tape over, crease it on both sides. It's like wrapping a gift. Now we're going to go right for the blade because, you know, we don't really need the handle quite yet. So seeing that we need at least 8 inches on the handle for my hand, right? And the palm is going to come in about 1 inch. We're going to set across 9 inches from the end to here. And that's when the blade will start. And then the blade, of course, extends 2 inches past the edge. So we're going to make a mark at 9. So I got my mark at 9. We're going to use the rubber insulation, the black rubber insulation. This stuff is the best. It's a little more expensive, but it's a lot squishier, so it absorbs a lot of hits better. My floor is dusty, that's why it's kind of dusty. Alright, so I'm going to go, I can eyeball those extra 2 inches here. So I'm seeing it's about that long. That's where I'm going to have to cut it. I like to pinch my insulation and then cut it with a sharp pair of scissors. The sharper, the safer, believe it or not. Perfect. So we can set our extra insulation off to the side. Take this, slip it over the entire thing, right here like this. Okay. Now you're going to notice these little tabs here. Some installations have it, some don't. We're actually going to use those. I utilize those. So what we're going to do is we're going to take off those strips. Perfect. Self-explanatory that you're going to squeeze the ends. Now we're going to stuff our tips. Remember to keep this on the line that you marked at for your handle, which should be 9 inches if you're using my 8-inch handle. Now, to stuff it, we're going to use some extra insulation. Should have a little bit here. No, I don't. So all you do, you take your rubber insulation from before, cut about a centimeter down, and this little bit we're going to break up into little pieces. And this is what I stuff the tip with. Reason why we use the little pieces instead of putting a whole other piece of insulation in there, the smaller the pieces, the more gaps of air there are in here. So since there's going to be more gaps of air, it'll decompress a lot more air, which means that the hit won't hit as hard when you swing at somebody with it. So this is good. Alright, now you're going to have a little bit extra, you may have a little extra room in there. I just pinch the top and I tape over it. So we're going to do that with a thin, small little strip of tape. Shouldn't be more than this. I take this and I pinch it. Okay. Like so. Alright, awesome. So now we have our piece of tape over that pinch blade. It gives it almost like an actual like blade look to it. You can see the handle's perfect because we're going to have the pommel right around here. So you have plenty of room for your wrist. That's the whole point why we have a big handle. So now we're going to go for our second layer. Our second layer is going to be out of this dish foam roll. You can see that on my website as well. This is used for storing dishes and plates when you actually ship them, you know, around whenever you buy plates. They may have these sheets on them. So basically, this is going to go across the whole blade. It actually looks like it may fit just across the entire blade. We're going to need a little bit more. That's okay. So these come in square feet. You'll see they're perforated edges for square feet. I use 3 feet or 3 sheets for one area. So I grab the whole thing and rip it off real quick. Okay. So what you're going to do when you wrap this, okay, is this is kind of important. You're going to take the whole thing. You're going to go over the entire thing fold over, and then you're going to crease it down, tuck it under the first layer, and then roll. Okay, it's easier if you have a table for this, which I do, so I'm going to be doing that. But that's the way I do it. It works all the time. It's perfect. Okay, this you want to be pretty tight. All right, this should be pretty tight because otherwise it just slips when you put the tape over. So now you can see it's a lot bigger than it, really seems it should be, but that's okay. You want it to be padded like this. So I use packaging tape for this layer because it seems to stick better than duct tape. Plus, if you use more duct tape, it's just going to add more layers and thickness to your bleed. And considering this is an area where people hit, 2 layers of duct tape swinging, it's going to be just a little bit harder. So we try to minimize that as much as possible. Okay. You'll see that little inch there of extra insulation. We have to cover that as well. Make sure you cover the entire thing. So this is already cut in 3 sheets. I use this for another weapon. Basically what you do here is you find the factory edge, which is the super straight edge. Obviously I cut with scissors with this so it's kind of jagged. We're going to fold on the perforated edges like this. Okay? And along that factory edge, you're going to take your scissors or utility knife and you're going to cut that inch straight across. This is all I need. This other stuff you can use for an extra weapon later on. Okay, so just like before, this is technically 3 square feet long. We're going to go along the whole thing. You want to tuck the edge in. Now, of course, this just had to be so tiny, but this just shows that you really need to cover everything on your blade. Now you're going to take your packaging tape as before, and you can wrap around the whole thing this time because it is that kind of tiniest strip. This stuff is so light and thin. So now it's wrapped around. That's our double layer right there, right? It feels squishy all around. It's snug and tight, but it's not enough that it's going to hurt somebody. That's what we're looking for, right? Now that we have these little edges sticking up, you don't have to worry about this one here, but this one's sticking up a lot. I'm going to take the smallest piece of tape possible. Now we can go right to the pommel, or we can go right for this decorative taping. I'm going to go right for the pommel, and for the pommel we use the foam insulation. This stuff here is pretty tough. So it's going to be a little harder to work with, but it's quite alright. I make my pommels pretty big, just a little more aesthetic looking, my opinion. Adds a little more character. But you should at least have them 2 inches long because the action of a pommel in a real sword is that it rebalances it, right? The other thing that it does, right, for our sake, is if you were accidentally backswing and hit some person in the face, they get the pommel and not PVC pipe, right? So you just slip it over like before, take off those little tabs, right? Squeeze the ends together like this. Awesome. And now, just like before with the other side, you can stuff it with some more insulation. I just put it somewhere down here. Cut off just a centimeter below, like I said before. Alright, save this for another weapon, you can use it later. We're going to break this up like we said before. Break it up. Stuff it in here. Now this is going to be a little bit tighter because the rubber insulation has more flex to it. But this is alright too. I don't pinch this as much, but you can if you want. Purely preference. Just going to throw a piece of tape over it. Alright, so now we have a nice pommel set up here, right? Pommel's going to be a little bit tight. You can wrap this around. You can go right for the decoration for this. We have exposed PVC here. Try to cover it, if you can. We're going to use some grip tape. I don't have it on me this very second, but I'll do a grip video later on. But this is just the basics, right? You can always just take duct tape and wrap it around. But now we have the decorative taping. This is the part that completes the finish on your weapon, and if it's done right, it comes out fantastic and very, very well done. So the color scheme I'm going to use is the same one on this sword here. We're going to use a bright neon orange strip around, and then blue as the base color. So you always start with your decorative color, or your accent color, and this is how I do taping. I do a 2-tone kind of color. So I always have a stripe that goes across, and then the base color throughout the rest. You'll notice on this sword that the strip is thinner than the base, and we do that on purpose. Never spiral wrap, alright? I see this all the time. People will start the tape here, and they'll wrap it around the whole sword, and it's super airtight. It's because they wrap it so tight that when you hit somebody with it, it feels like they're getting hit with a rock. We don't ever do that. No weapon should ever be made like that. In fact, the way we should be making weapons is with long strips across the whole blade. So we're going to take this, we're actually going to put it right on the PVC that's exposed, right, because that's going to get covered later, and we're going to go all the way across the entire thing. Now this is decorative, and brighter colors will reflect creases in the tape a lot more. So I try and go very gently with this, right? You want to take your time on this because this is the part that makes it look nice and finishes the whole thing. Take off some of that because I see that it's creasing. Just pick it up, perfect, and we'll wrap it around. So I always get a little bit here, fold it over, nice and easy, not too tight on this, but snug. So get it down there. Rip it. Perfect. So it's starting to crease a little bit. And right back to the exposed PVC. So I try and smooth out the whole thing. If I see a crease, it's really not that bad. This dish foam is actually pretty forgiving. If you just peel it back a little bit, pull that crease down, it comes off pretty easy. Once it settles in, it's pretty much like done, but it takes a little bit of time for the adhesive on the duct tape to really stick to the dish foam. So, like I said before, it is very forgiving. Now, we're going to go for the other side now. Now, you'll notice that your tape does this too, right? You'll see how flat it is. What you do is take scissors, you notch both sides, and fold them down so it doesn't put as much stress on your strip. We go down to the PVC on this decorative tape because you want it to hold very well. So we're going to snip those edges very fast. Doesn't take that long. And you just fold it down. All right? Fold it down. This doesn't have to look super pretty, but you want to fold it down so that it's out of the way. All right, now we're going to go for our base color, which is our dark blue. All right, now our dark blue is going to go all the way around just like before, but you don't want multiple layers on the top, all right? So what you're going to do is you're going to put the strip on the exposed PVC and go up just to the edge of the blue here, of the orange here, okay? So I start from the orange and work my way down. Estimate the length. And I'm going to start right on the edge here. So I'm going to put the edge of my tape just along that edge. The tip doesn't look as attractive as the rest of the sword, unfortunately, but you have to have it taped. So we're going to pull it all the way down. We're going to go across, smooth out the whole thing, make it look nice. Okay, those ends that were sticking up are what I'm tucking in right now. Push it down to the PVC, notch your edges. Now, again, this is how you can make any sword without a crossguard. So now we're going to do the other side as well. Perfect. So now we have the base color on. Now, the second layer makes it a lot thicker, right? You'll notice that you have these exposed pieces of dish foam. That's okay. We're actually going to cover them up, obviously. So you take your strips just like as long as the other blue pieces with the blue. And you don't want to, like I said before, you don't want to make it too thick, right? So we're actually going to rip the strips in half. Duct tape is very good at that. Super easy, right? Now when you rip it, you're going to have a jagged edge because you ripped it, and you're also going to have the nice factory edge. That nice factory edge you're going to want to put against the orange because the orange is the opposite color. You won't notice the jagged edge on the blue. So like I said before, you stick it at the tip, drag it all the way down, and this is much easier to smooth out. And you can see that nice factory edge really sharpens the color on the orange there. And the jagged blue, you won't even notice it because it's on the same color, right? We're going to do the same thing on this side. Beautiful. Looks nice, right? Do it again. Great. Now we have the entire thing covered. It looks amazing. So now it's up to you what you want to do for your pommel. I'm just going to do straight blue again. So now we have the bottom here that you could just throw duct tape on. Considering that all the pieces of tape ended up there, I just like to take a piece to go around the whole thing and really tighten that all up. There's a whole thing there. And duct tape is flexible as well, so it will flex. Perfect. This is super strong. It's really not going anywhere. And once you have the pommel finished, I'll show you the video on the grip tape later. But that's basically how you make a sword. Always cover your foam. I didn't finish covering it all, but this is the finished product. Nice and slick. Colors match all the way around. It's real nice and tight down here, so you don't have to worry about anything moving around. Cover all that. put the grip tape around it, and it's a nice little blade, right? Now, another thing we do with our blades is we poke holes in them. This is very important. We actually take a little thumbtack and you go across the entire thing, cover it in holes. It makes it look a little bit worse, right? Because it's not as slick, and especially the brighter colors, it shows more, but it's necessary. Whenever you hit somebody, it feels like a pillow, right? It feels like a real hard pillow that you're hitting somebody with. Notice how it bounces off real easy off my arm? We don't want that as much. You want it to, when you hit somebody, it doesn't hurt as much. When it's bouncing off, the harder it bounces off, the more it hurts. So when you poke holes in it, right, as you hit somebody, those holes decompress the air that's packed on the inside of this, because there are no gaps for air to leave. Those holes let the air escape, decompress so you feel it less, and then when you let go, it inflates the air. That's why the holes are there. So it's very important that we do that as well. It's very good chance if you don't have air holes in your weapon, it will not get approved. Very highly recommended and almost required that you put air holes in your weapons. All right, guys. Well, that's how you make the any simple broadsword, short sword / dagger without a crossguard. Any questions, comments, anything like that, you can always go on my website, see any of my ideas and things like that. And I'll have more ideas and more weapons and stuff that I'll be making up on here so you guys have an idea of how to make your own. All right, see ya.